Welcome to the Key to All Things Real Estate podcast, your top source for everything you need to know about the Tennessee real estate market. I'm Crystal Gray, your host and Nashville-based super realtor, and I'm excited to have you with us today. Each week, I sit down with real estate professionals, industry experts, and people just like you to explore the latest trends, share valuable insights, and offer practical tips to help you buy, sell, and invest with confidence. Whether you're a first-time home buyer, an experienced investor, or just curious about the local market, this podcast is your one-stop shop for all things real estate in Tennessee. We're proudly sponsored by the Classic Key Real Estate School, where we believe in empowering you with knowledge and skills to make the best real estate decisions. So grab you a cup of coffee, get comfortable, and let's unlock the doors to your real estate success together. Are you ready? So welcome to the Key to All Things Real Estate podcast. I am your host, Crystal Gray. So thank you for joining us for another episode. Today, we are going to talk to the lovely Meredith Smith. Meredith is originally from Maine, and she has been helping people buy and sell real estate since 2003. And she has a real passion for helping her clients get what they need. So we're going to talk to Miss Meredith today, and we're going to let her share some of her story with us. So welcome today, Miss Meredith.
Well, thank you so much for having me, Crystal. I love doing this kind of stuff and talking about real estate with all people from all over. So this is exciting. Thank you.
You're welcome. We are happy to have you here. So you have a pretty extensive career in real estate, right? So you've been selling since 2003?
Yeah, this is my 21st year in the business, and boy, it's been a wild ride.
Yeah, I'm right behind you. I'm at 19 years.
So. Impressive. And it's interesting. I find that people get into real estate as their career later in life. So when people meet me and see that I've been in the business since 2003, because it was shortly after college that I got into real estate. Most people get in later in life. So I like that I've been able to make it a full career, and I still have a lot of time left. I hope to be doing this well into my, 70s, 80s. I don't know that I'm there.
Yeah, until you can't do it anymore. I feel the same way. Like I have tried other things, just other entrepreneur things, but it's like real estate is always going to be my base. So
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. So you are originally from Maine?
From Maine.
Yes. Wow. So talk to us a little bit about maybe the transition. Like what was the real estate market like in Maine? And then what did you find to be different once you transitioned to Nashville?
Wow. So making the move in 2017 was a little scary because when you move to a new place, you don't know anybody. I knew my husband. So starting my career in Maine, very different market. And I don't know that that's the case now that I've been away for so long, but the volume I would do was very small, and houses took months to sell, like 6 months, sometimes more, longer. And it was just a lot less inventory. And I always felt like I was doing it part-time because I never was really busy enough to make it a full-time career because I just couldn't get any traction. I didn't have a coach. I just was winging it. Yeah. So it was a very slow start. I wasn't really a producer until I got here to Nashville, and everything changed. So I don't know that I'd still be trying to do it full time in Maine, because there were some things I did that kind of took my career and it kind of just catapulted. And I'll share my secrets with you, Crystal.
Please do. Yes, girl. That's what we're here for. So Maine is a little different, a little slower market. Are you from a smaller town in Maine?
So I'm the only girl you'll meet from Maine that hates seafood. And it's because I grew up in the center of the state. I grew up in central Maine. So it was still a few hours to the ocean, but still a lot closer to the ocean than I am now. I have no water here.
Yeah, period.
It was just a small town. I born and raised, went to college in Maine and didn't leave Maine. I think I turned 40 And now you know how old I am. I moved when my husband and I had just turned 40, and then we relocated to Nashville. So first 40 years of my life in the great state of Maine. It's a wonderful state, but everybody's leaving. There's a million people in Maine when I left, and there's like 1.6 in the greater Nashville metro. Just those numbers alone, it's like, I still can't wrap my head around it.
Wow. Wow. What was the deciding factor to relocate to Nashville?
No. So in all seriousness, my husband and so Aaron and I met in 2015, and his career was chef and I was real estate agent slash fundraiser. Not to get into too many details, I was going through a divorce, and real estate was not going to pay the bills for me because I just wasn't busy enough. I didn't know what I was doing, honestly. So I started a fundraising job while I was in 2014. So working for the American Heart Association, fundraising, that was my full-time gig, and still selling real estate. So my real estate was more part-time. And I'm going to talk to you about why part-time realtors, why it's a bad idea. But that's what I had to do, what I had to do. And knew that Maine was probably going to be, my husband and I wanted to move. You know, he was Chicago raised, moved to Maine. We met in Maine, and we were looking for opportunity. We needed to get out of Maine just, you know, for our own sanity and for growth, for opportunity. And we had always heard about Nashville being a hot place. I mean, everybody's coming to Nashville because it's like such a great place to live. There's so many reasons why people are choosing Nashville, not just because of the lower cost of living, but there's so much here. And it's funny, he had a job offer at Vanderbilt University, and I got a job offer at the Heart Association in Nashville. So so we got job offers the same day. It was kind of serendipitous.
Wow.
It was meant to be. The stars were aligning. So we got job offers, and if anybody at the Heart Association is listening to this, they're going to be mad at me, but I knew real estate was the career path. And this job got me to Nashville. It didn't go well in Nashville with the Heart Association. It wasn't a good fit. I was there for less than a year, and I quit because I was working on getting relicensed because we had reciprocity here, but I still had to get my state. I had to pass the state test. Once I passed, I was out. And then I was full-time again with 0 clients. And that was in 2017.
Wow.
I know. And the only reason why I was able to have the courage to do it was because the partner I have in life now, his name is Aaron, he believed in me. He was like, babe, you got this. You can do this. And I was like, you have a partner that believes in you that much. You got to do it. He is now full-time with me. So he is no longer chefing. He got his license in 2023. We are working together full-time. So my biggest supporter.
Awesome.
Yeah. So whoo.
Shout out to Aaron then. Thank you so much.
He's incredible. I'm so lucky that I found him.
Oh, wow, girl, that is awesome. Awesome.
Yeah.
So you made this transition and you're going into real estate full time. So what did you do? What was your strategy to get clients and to start really working?
So when you have no income, what do? Spend $10,000 on a coach. That's what I did. I think she's a well-known coach. Her name's Krista Mayshore. I completely surrendered and did the program. And so it was a 6-month intensive coaching program because I knew my husband and myself, and that was it. And there's only 17,000 of us agents in the greater Nashville. Well, Middle Tennessee. There's tons of agents. And a lot of people were like, you're crazy. And I'm like, I am going to do this. So how I broke in was by doing video. That's it. I learned how to do it through this coach. I didn't really take much else away, but this coach taught me to not care about what I looked like on camera and just to get in front of people. So I got my little tripod, I got my camera, and I went to networking groups and said, who can I interview? I want to interview you about your business. Who wants to talk to me? It
Wow.
took off. People were like, you want to interview me and put it out and I don't have to do any work? What's the catch? I'm like, there is no catch. Well, the catch was I was interviewing people and people were getting to know me.
You, yes.
And I was showcasing their business. And I was scared to death, Crystal. Being on camera and like talking to strangers, and I had to get so uncomfortable, but it took
worked.
off. I interviewed a business and we did 6 transactions together from
Wow.
2018 on. They referred me to, it just started, it was just this effect of it just started spiraling.
Wow.
That's the word I'm looking for.
Yeah.
And video is how I connect with my audience. I don't buy leads. I don't do anything like that. That's how people can get to know me. So when they do meet me, they already know me because they've seen me. They keep seeing me. And I don't just do real estate videos. I do videos about 5 cool facts about Tennessee, or top 10 mispronounced cities, streets, and states, or city streets and counties, or just random color of the year. Color of the year. Like I don't even know how many hits I got on YouTube.
Wow.
Just on stuff like that. So long answer. I got a coach. I totally was willing to do what she told me to do. And I stopped being scared. And I'm very outgoing, but I was very, very shy. And you wouldn't know it now because I just stopped caring about what people thought about me on the camera, and it just worked.
Girl, that is awesome. But they say in order to grow, you have to be uncomfortable. And so once you finally start doing that, and I can resonate with that because, okay, yes, now I'm doing this podcast, but video was not, I was so critical of myself initially. So now I'm getting to that point where I'm like, oh, whatever. It is what it is.
Right. And the first 30 days I had to put out 30 videos and put them on, and the class had to critique you. Woo, that was hard. My husband had to leave the house. If he could hear me doing the video, I couldn't do it. And now he's holding the camera. And I'm like,
yeah.
And I will hear from agents, there's no way I'm going to ever do video. There's no way. And it's like, that's the way. That's it. And so
that's video. You're exactly right. Well,
do video. Yep.
Well, good. This helps me. This means I'm going in the right direction also. So I love it.
What you're doing, this podcast is exactly what you need to be doing. Like that's how you're going to connect. So.
Yep. And I can talk about real estate all day long. So it doesn't matter what kind of real estate, I can talk about it all day long. So I figure, why not?
Yes.
Why not get a chance to meet some agents and get some material out there and kind of just get out there, period. So, well, I love it. So now that you've made this transition through video mainly, what is your business like right now?
Well, so it took a little bit of time, but in 2020, I had my biggest year ever. So 2021, I sold 19.6 million. And that's a lot. That for just me, it was a huge year. So now you can't see it, but I got a board in my office and it is full of prospects for the next 5 years. And my pipeline is very strong and I've got buyers in all different stages. So for me, when I meet a buyer or a seller, well, when sellers reach out, they've got a timeline of 6 months, a year. When you meet a buyer, the timeline can be very long. And I find there are a lot of agents out there that if it's not now, they move on. And so it's all about the long game for me. You're not ready today, but you're going to be ready in 3 years. I'm going to stay in touch with you. And so it's a matter of meeting clients where they're at. And sure, I'd love it to meet a buyer and close in 30 days, but that's not realistic. So I'm in it for the long game. And I think that's where many agents fall flat is they end up wanting it now and they get into the business thinking it's going to be easy.
Oh, yeah.
This is not an easy job, but I love it.
Yes.
I love the challenge.
Absolutely. Yeah. One of the things that I always mention to just the guests that come on the podcast is in Nashville, from maybe 2016 to 2020, everything was selling like this. Multiple offers, multiple offers. And I always remember a friend of mine or someone said to me, well, you should be happy because you're staying so busy, And I'm like, yes, I am happy, but it's a lot more work that people don't understand that goes into that. And so we had a lot of agents jumping in, new agents jumping in during that time because it was like everything is selling. You didn't even have to have professional photos and you got multiple offers. So
Bring out the
now,
iPhone.
yes.
Ugh.
But now that the market has turned, you are really seeing who is cut out for this and who isn't.
Right.
Yeah.
And with the new changes from the NAR lawsuits,
Yeah.
we are going to see a lot of changes. And there are
Mhm.
agents that are not paying attention to what needs to happen. I
Mhm.
can't show you a house without a signed agreement. Can't do it. And people are just, it's going to be very interesting. And
Yeah.
I'm prepared. I'm ready. And I've had people say, oh, what are you going to do? I'm like, I got a plan. I'm
Yeah.
ready. Like, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. I'm still going to work. That's what I'm going to do.
yes,
So
yes.
yeah. Yeah.
We're going to pivot.
Yes, just a different angle. That's what I was gonna say. And
Yeah,
you just keep it going. Okay. I like that. Awesome. So you were actually featured on HGTV
I wasn't. I work with HGTV stagers.
stagers. Okay, sorry. It was their stagers.
Yep.
So kind of walk us through that. What was that process like?
Yeah. So part of my well, it's now Meredith's marketing strategy because I have more than 17 points to it. But part of my marketing strategy when I'm going to go into a home and start the process of listing is I'm not a professional stager. I've taken classes. I know enough to be dangerous, but at the end of the day, it is not my forte.
Hmm.
And sometimes we go into homes that people live in and they need to live in it until it sells. So that's where I bring in a stager if I need help because I want the
Okay.
pictures to be perfect. So I've brought in Kim Pierce. She's a staging consultant. We'll go into a home and we'll walk room by room and the seller will participate. And so we work with, like, I bring in, if it's a vacant home, we'll talk about bringing furniture in, but it's mostly for lived in homes
Okay.
and making their homes ready for pictures.
Mm,
And what are we taking out and what are we deleting? What are we
right.
packing? So I have that person with me so that I can
Okay.
make sure the pictures are perfect. Because even when the market, because when the rates were 3%, agents weren't taking professional photos. We're just going to sell this in 24 hours and it's going to go 50K over.
Right.
When that was happening here in Nashville, I was still doing my marketing strategy because it matters what your photos look like. To me, photo and property video is the most important piece, I think, because people are going to buy your home when they look at the photos. They're going to make a decision. And
Mm,
then when they come into the home, they're like, yes, I want it.
right.
So when the market was crazy, I was still doing all of this staging and all of these beautiful photos because it matters. So
Yes.
I find that, and I don't mean to talk down on other agents. We all have our process, but sometimes agents got lazy, took out their iPhone, click, 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 put it up, done. I have a higher standard, and I think sellers deserve the best
Yeah.
possible when they list their home. They deserve red carpet service, and they're going to get it with me because I
Absolutely.
care so much.
Yes, yes, absolutely. That is awesome. So, okay. Now, we've talked about the staging, we've talked about the transition to Nashville. You did mention, are you working with more buyers than sellers, or is it
It's
kind of
pretty
50-50?
even.
Okay.
I was never really a heavy listing agent until a few years ago because people were starting to see my property videos because every home I list gets a video and it's not just a pictures of the home, it's an actual produced video.
Mm,
And people like that. So I've become more listing heavy. So it's probably 50-50 that I'm doing.
wow.
So
That
I'm
is
working with both.
awesome. Okay, cool. So, what would your advice be to maybe other buyers that are trying to relocate to somewhere else? Because you did it, of course, for different reasons. So, how do you walk your buyers through that process?
So I'll use an example. I've got buyers relocating from California. They found me online and they reached out and they have never bought a house before and they're going to relocate. And this is like all brand new. So to start the process, because they're in California and their plans are to be here early 2025, we set up a Zoom call and we get to see each other's faces and we talk through the entire process. You're going to get a home buyer roadmap and we're going to talk through every step. And the most important, if you're not paying cash, I need you to talk to a lender because I find that you can get ahead of yourselves. And so I have a great lender that I partner with. So pre-approval, go through the process, ask lots of questions about what their wants and needs are. And they get to ask me questions because this isn't about just, I can't automatically assume I'm going to win. I want them to choose me.
Yeah.
And so they're asking me questions about my process, my experience, what's my close rate? And I get that question like, what is your strategy? How are we going to get the house? And strategy is something I like to talk about right out of the gate because picking the right agent, if you don't talk about what their strategy is to get you into the house, it's not just about writing an offer, it's about all the different parts. So I kind of share a little bit about strategy because usually if I'm writing, I'm making it as strong as I can for their situation.
Right.
And building rapport with the agent that I'm sending the offer to. And my most important rule is to be kind. Leave your ego at the door, period. Because when we're working together with agents, if it's not going well, it's sometimes because of that ego gets in the way. So I've had to swallow a lot of humble pie sometimes, but there is kindness that's free. And if you're going to work with me, you're going to have a good experience on the other side. So I don't know if that answered your question or not, but I think that initial interview and making sure they understand the process, because when you're a first-time home buyer, what's an inspection? What's an appraisal? What do all those things mean?
Yeah.
And why do I need you to work with me? Can't I just go and look at the house myself? Why do I need you? So it's really showing the value proposition of what it is that we as agents do and how we represent their interests. And
Right. That is very, very true. So I guess what would you consider maybe the key considerations that you make sure they're aware of in this process? I know you said you have the home buying roadmap.
Yep. The key is understanding the lending piece. Because I don't deal with many cash buyers, it happens, but mostly financing I'm dealing with. It's understanding that pre-approval has to be in place before we can really start shopping. I think it's understanding that and just the whole process. And, it's a high level conversation at first, but you really have to break it down because I do this every day. And how often do you buy a home? And it's a teaching moment and it's not expecting them to know because they don't. You've got to start from scratch. So I think it's just peeling the layers back and making sure that the process is explained to them so that they understand what this is all about. It's not an easy process.
It's not. And absolutely, I appreciate that you said that because sometimes, because we do this every day, and we've been doing it for a long time, you can talk over someone's head if you're not paying attention. So I always kind of find out, have you purchased a home before? What was that experience like? What do you remember? What did you like? What did you dislike? Just things like that. But like you said, that pre-approval, that's critical. Especially, it always has been critical, but especially right now.
Yeah. And
very, very critical.
I think that buyer rep agreement and the pre-approval will come hand in hand because we can't, after August 17th, we need a written agreement to show houses. That's just it. So it's much easier to get both. Like, okay, well, we need the pre-approval and we need the buyer agreement in place. So I think it's an easier conversation to have because those are truly the first steps to going into homes, and I do with the changes that are coming, buyers understand. Usually I would take buyers out. And I hope it's okay that I go off topic, but
you're fine.
Usually I would, and don't, you're going to kill me when I tell you this, but I would write the buyer agreement when I wrote the offer. And many agents do that because we have an understanding we're going to work together. And if we're not going to work together, so it's a bilateral agreement, that buyer agreement. And if we decide not to work together, we can terminate it. No problem.
Right.
So why not just write it at the offer stage, right? Can't do that anymore. And now we have to do that. We have to do that now. So I think the changes that are coming are going to be well received because I haven't had pushback from buyers, because now my conversation when I have my interview is that buyer agreement. That's not a conversation I would have until the third or fourth time we meet to make sure we're going to work together. So
Right.
I'm having to do that buyer rep conversation right out of the gate. And I thought I would hate it because it feels tacky talking about how I'm going to get paid. But it is actually, you just have to explain, be transparent.
Yeah.
And it's a much easier conversation when you explain why we're having this conversation about this buyer rep agreement. It's to protect you, me, and all parties involved.
Right.
And so anyway.
Yep. Go ahead and get it out there. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So with the market being the way that it is right now, are you seeing any like common mistakes when working with sellers or buyers? And how can they be avoided if you are seeing anything?
I think the mistakes happen when we're not prepping our sellers. Well, so as the markets change, when you're in this full time, you're able to follow the ebbs and flows of what happens when rates are at 7. Like, what does that mean? So for a seller to come in, so a common mistake is over promising on price and not being able to explain to your seller why you started if you overprice and your seller is totally expecting to get this price and we're not getting showings, it's not working out. I think that responsibility is on the agent, not preparing the seller for what the current market conditions are. A lot of times you get in there, you sign the listing agreement. What do you want to sell for? Okay, no problem. And then when it doesn't sell, it's, well, what happened? It's our responsibility to explain the process given the market. So right now, when I'm prepping a seller for going on the market, it is, well, you might have to pay some closing costs. You might be asked to pay for title because it's a buyer's market right now. And when it's a seller's market, it's a little different.
Right.
You might not be getting an inspection. You might be getting a pass-fail inspection or no inspection at all. So I think it's prepping buyers and sellers depending on market conditions. So a buyer right now, when I'm I wrote an offer on Sunday, I was able to get my buyer title and we were able to get about 10,000 off a price. And we had a lot of negotiating power because we were the only one interested in the house. So preparing your buyer and seller based on market conditions can lead to a lot less heartache and disappointment because the sellers, and I think it's more with sellers, they're disappointed because you failed them. You overpromised and underdelivered, where that doesn't have to be that at all. It has to be based on what's the market and can you realistically get this price? And if you want to shoot for this price and you don't get it, what's our plan moving forward?
Absolutely. So. Yeah, I agree with that because sometimes, of course, sellers have in their mind one thing and they have a price that the neighbor's house up the street sold for, but there's a lot of factors that they have to understand. And like you said, market conditions, that's a big thing right now. And I like to try to tell the sellers, I don't set the price. The market sets the price.
That's the price. Love that.
Yes.
Love that.
The market sets the price. And that's just realistic. So when you go in there, you can show them the data of what has sold and then maybe explain to them the way that appraisals work. They're not going to use a comp from 5 or 6 months ago.
Yeah. But Zillow says my house is worth this, Crystal.
Let's not talk about Zillow.
But, another common
Except
mistake,
when they're right.
But another mistake could be working with an agent that's part-time. And I'm not saying everybody's got their situation, but I feel like when you interview, ask them their numbers. Like I encourage interview 3 agents and ask them the hard questions. And I feel like sometimes sellers are afraid to ask, how much business did you do last year? I mean, I'm not going to a part-time dentist. I'm going to a full-time dentist that does this all day, every day. So I really feel like experience and being in the market in the weeds all day, every day is where you're going to get the most bang for
Yeah,
your buck, you know?
yeah, yeah. I agree. I definitely agree with that. So, yeah, I think that answered that really good. That's the way to avoid it. Prepare your sellers, prepare your buyers for the market conditions based on what's going on currently, not what happened 6 months or a year
Right.
ago.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's
Yeah.
going to be forever changing and rates are starting to come down. I have a buyer that just locked in at 6.1. I never
Wow.
thought I'd be saying, woo, but
I
I
know.
am. But when those rates start to drop, it's going to be mayhem and
Hmm.
it's going to be crazy.
Yeah.
But that's what happens in real estate. Just
The
keeps it going. So,
fluctuation. Yes. I always say sometimes it's feast or famine with
yeah. Yes.
with our market. So I noticed I was reading your bio on your website and you mentioned that you carry staging tools, cleaning products, construction equipment, the long boots. I really love that one.
Yes.
Because
Yes.
I do some of the same things and people they don't get it, but I'm like, yeah, if I go for an open house, the house is vacant, it may have cobwebs or something that I need to address, but that's kind of like your agent starter kit, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, dub, what are the batteries that go into smoke detectors? The 9 volt.
Uh,
How many times have you gone into a house that's chirping? Chirping. That is awful. But my favorite tool is my leaf blower. That is
oh wow.
favorite. I've got cordless, or well, it's a rechargeable. So I've got like a vacuum and a leaf. I got all of it. But that leaf blower, oh, if I'm getting ready for photos, I'm
Hmm.
blowing your driveway. I had a client who took a picture of me. She's like, "Are you kidding me?" I'm like,
Wow.
perfect. So that leaf blower I use all the time. It's my favorite. That's
Now
my favorite.
that's one I hadn't thought about. I may have to add that to my
Yeah,
list.
yeah, a Home Depot, it sells the kit. You get a weed whacker and the leaf blower, and it's
Okay.
awesome.
That is awesome. Okay, cool. So yeah, I'll add that to my agent starter pack. That's
Yes.
what we got to keep in our trunk and umbrellas, raincoats, boots,
Toilet paper.
all yes, air freshener, candles, all that good stuff.
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
So are you seeing any new trends that are happening in the marketplace or
Mm.
what has happened in the last few years that maybe you noticed?
Yeah, well, the one thing that I've seen is, well, when the market was really hot, like when we had the 2% to 3% rates, the trend of waiving everything that was the big thing. Don't ask for, if your offer has an inspection,
Right.
don't bother. So I feel like the trends now are geared towards buyers getting their closing costs paid. Like
Mm-hmm.
that just was unheard of. At one
Yep.
point, I think I had 16 pending, mostly sellers, and not a single seller was paying title,
Yep.
not a
Yep.
single one of them. And now it's very common to get
Mm-hmm.
that title expense paid. So I'm seeing just a lot more concessions that I
Yeah.
just never saw for a few years. It was like, don't even think about asking for closing costs. You won't get
Right.
the house. But now it's a matter of negotiating
Yep.
all of those terms. And also, sellers are not getting over asking, they're getting list price or maybe a little less.
Yeah.
So when you set that price with your seller, of course, they're setting the price, but you're making recommendations.
Yeah.
Don't expect to get 20 over or 100 over. That may come back as the rates go down, but I think for now it's a matter of, I guess, can we call it a normal market? Because that's
I
what I
think,
remember.
yeah, I feel like we're in a stable market. Um,
Stable. That's it.
that's
That's it.
yeah, I feel like we're in a stable market, but I think you're right. Like you said, a few years ago, that was unheard of. You wouldn't even
Yeah.
submit an offer. Okay, no appraisal, no inspection, no
Yeah.
anything. But
But
now we're actually negotiating repair
yeah.
items. So,
And the interesting thing I'm seeing is those people that paid over should be staying in their houses for much longer. I mean, I saw a listing come on in Franklin and they bought it in 2021 and it was listed at 795. They paid 850 and now it's listed at 870. And so it's Oh, so if you're selling it within those 2 years and you went crazy over, I
Mm-hmm.
feel like those sellers are going to be coming to the table with money
Mm.
because they're just they're not going
Yeah.
to be able to get back that because the concern was you're overpaying by this much. How are you going to get that if you have to sell in 2 years?
Right.
Some of those people that purchased probably should have rented. I
True.
hate I hate to say it, but you
Yeah.
know,
If,
getting the doing it.
especially if you knew that it was going to be likely that you would need to move or sell.
Yeah. Or what about
Um,
people that waived inspections? I'm hearing horror stories about what was uncovered after. Oh,
we kind of talked about this a little earlier with the buyers, but making sure they have their pre-approval, making sure we get that buyer rep agreement signed. Are there any other tips or suggestions you could think of for first-time home buyers in this market?
honestly, I think knowing where you want to be, because it's kind of hard. Nashville's huge and there's
Yeah.
different areas. And I think it's preparing for where you want to be. And so the one thing that I do for buyers, especially first timers, is if they're not quite ready, but they're going to be ready in 6 months, every Friday afternoon, they are getting an open house list from me. And it's going to come every week. And I want them going into open houses. So I'm giving them an area and a price, and they might not be pre-approved yet because they're not there yet, but we
Mm-hmm.
have a general price range and you're going to get that list. And so I have buyers that are going into homes. They're writing my name down. They're not that way. The agent's not blowing them up,
Right.
but they're writing down my name and they're just getting comfortable and they're getting
Gotcha.
comfortable with going into homes and what are their must-haves. They'll go into a townhome. They're like, Meredith, take townhomes off the list. I just want a site built. So
Yes.
I think it's meeting a buyer's needs where they're at, given their timeline, and then just giving them that information so that they can be comfortable. So when they're ready, because when I may show them a house for the first time and they're writing an offer and they're not feeling weird about it, like, shouldn't I look at like 10 more?
Right.
So they're
Right.
ready. So it's like that prep work
Hmm.
beforehand so that they're really comfortable. So I think,
That's cool.
yeah. So my open house strategy, I don't know how I came up with that. It was probably, oh, gosh, right off in 2018. I might have gotten it as an idea from the coach. I'm not sure,
Okay.
but people love it. And
Yeah.
it's a way to stay connected. I had one gal, she's a teacher, and she got the list every Friday. And it took her a few years. She finally bought, and we stay in
Oh,
touch. But, she always knew. She's like, you always stayed in touch with me. I always had what was open. And it just builds that trust that I'm invested and I'm in it for the long run. And
yeah.
I'm not here to just get the quick sale because it's a process and it's a
Yeah.
relationship because we typically become friends.
Yes. We become friends, almost family, because during the transaction, they're like your best friend because you're talking to them every single day. And sometimes when properties close or I close on a contract, I'm like, it feels weird
It,
because
we talked every day and
yeah.
now you've left me.
Yeah, so it feels a little weird, but yeah, and it's a great reminder for us to just keep in touch though,
Yes,
because we do provide a service, but this is a relationship business.
100%.
Definitely. Yes.
There's a stat about how many people use the same realtor for a second time. A lot of people forget who they bought their home from because their agent didn't do a good job staying in touch. And I refuse to be a statistic that you don't hear from me again. You're going to hear from me every year on your house anniversary. You're going to get a
Yeah.
text, happy anniversary. Can you believe it's been 4 years?
Yeah.
Just stay in touch, but
Yeah.
be intentional. Don't send drip. Like, I don't do drip campaigns. I don't do any of that.
Yeah.
It's true human interaction, not pre-produced stuff
Yes.
like that. And
Yeah.
I know a lot of agents love their drip campaigns, but it's just not me.
Gotcha. Yeah, that makes sense. So let's talk about, do you have a team right now, or is it just you and your husband?
We're hoping. I just passed my broker exam. So I am officially a broker. So that was really hard, but I did it.
Yes.
And so the plan is my home is Benchmark Realty. Love this. I'm not going anywhere. So if anybody's listening and wants to recruit me, I'm not going anywhere. But I'm trying to build a team, and Aaron was step number one. And can I just tell you how hard that was to give up some control?
Oh my
Best
goodness.
move I could have made, though, because, we can go in two different directions. And instead of me trying to do it all. So now I'm in conversations with a couple of agents about hopefully coming on. And so we're building a team. And so the goal is hopefully 10 agents. And I think I set a goal of in the next 5 years. So hopefully stay tuned. Meredith
Awesome.
Smith Homes, a Benchmark Realty team. So
Yay. I like the sound of that. Very nice.
yeah.
Very nice. Well, is there anything else you want to share with us before we end the podcast?
I think we covered a lot of great stuff, Crystal, and I so appreciate you letting me chat about what I love so much. And like you said, you love what you do. And sometimes I had someone actually ask me, what else do you do? And it's like, I run and I sell real estate, and it really made me think. I'm like, I can't just be all about real estate, but I'm very passionate about it, and that's all I talk about. So I need some more hobbies. So I got to work on
Yeah. I
that.
was just thinking you need to get you a t-shirt, running realtor or something
Yes,
like that. That'd be nice.
yes, yes.
Well, thank you so much for coming on to the podcast. I really enjoyed speaking with you and getting to know you a little better. I think this conversation went really well, and they typically do because we're just two agents chatting
Just,
up about the market.
just chat.
And whatever else comes to mind while we're on here, that's what we do.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
No,
well, yes, awesome. Well, we definitely look forward to maybe having you again, and I'll make sure we keep in touch. You never know, we might work a deal or two together.
will
That would
you
be awesome.
will you be on my podcast?
Girl,
Con-
yes,
Conversations with your Nashville
absolutely.
realtor. I'm gonna set it up.
Girl,
Woo!
yes, I would love it. I was talking to an agent a few weeks ago. He came on the podcast and he is getting ready to start a podcast too. And I'm like, I want to come on your show. He was like, yes, I
Yes.
was going to ask you that. So
Yeah,
perfect.
that I would love to have you. So I'll work on that invitation. I try to do one a month, but it's hard.
Yeah,
It's hard.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I look forward to that. And thank you so much for joining us and sharing all of your tips, tricks, your thoughts, and kind of how you broke into the Nashville market. All right. We'll
Thanks.
talk to you soon. Okay.
Great. Thanks,
All right.
Crystal.
All
See ya.
right. That's a wrap for this episode of the Key to All Things Real Estate podcast. Thank you so much for joining me, your host, Crystal Gray. I hope you found our discussion insightful, valuable for your real estate journey. And a big thank you to our sponsor, the Classic Key Real Estate School, for making this podcast possible. If you'd like to dive deeper into real estate topics or get your real estate license, or if you need continuing education credits, check them out for expert guidance and resources. Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast. This way you'll never miss an episode. If you enjoyed today's conversation, leave us a review and share it with your friends. Your feedback helps us keep bringing you the best content. If you have any questions or topics you would like for us to cover, reach out to us on social media or email us at crystal@classickeyrealty.com. We'd love to hear from you. Thanks again for tuning in, and until next time, let's keep unlocking the doors to your real estate success. Have a great day, and we'll see you on the next episode.